Right now, in April 2026, one of the world's leading artificial intelligence companies has built a hacker so efficient, they're legitimately terrified to release it to the public.
Yeah, it's a completely unprecedented situation.
Welcome to the deep dive.
Nah.
If you're listening to this, you likely rely on a digital infrastructure, your phone, your banking app, your company's network that you probably assume is built like a bank vault.
Right, a really solid vault.
Exactly. But today, we're looking at a stack of sources suggesting that Vault is actually a complex puzzle made of glass. And the newest tools can see exactly where to tap to shatter the whole thing.
It's a scary thought.
It really is. We are pulling from a startling CBS News report, a highly technical evaluation from the UK's AI Security Institute, the AISI, and the operational specs for an automated disaster recovery platform called Swimage. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
The core premise driving today's discussion is Anthropic, the company behind the Claude AI models, developing a new system called Mythos.
Yes, Mythos.
And the claim is that its offensive cyber capabilities are so extreme, a public release is just off the table entirely.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we are crossing a massive threshold in how technology scales threat.
How so?
Well, for the last few years, the public conversation around AI has been centered on generative tasks, right? Writing emails, summarizing PDFs, or maybe coding simple scripts.
Doubtful stuff.
Exactly. But Mythos represents an operational shift. We are looking at a system designed to actively, autonomously dismantle cybersecurity defenses.
Wow.
The speed of execution here fundamentally breaks the traditional model where human defenders have time to detect a breach, analyze it, and then respond.
I'm struggling with the scale here, though. I mean, hasn't malware always been automated? We've had worms and viruses spreading on their own for decades.
Right, that's true.
So why is this specific model causing such an unprecedented level of panic? Are we talking about a slightly smarter lockpick, or is this like a master key that can open literally every digital door on Earth simultaneously?
It's definitely closer to the master key. Traditional malware is like a heat-seeking missile. It's automated, yes, but it is entirely rigid.
Okay.
It looks for one specific vulnerability. And if that vulnerability is patched, the missile just crashes harmlessly into the wall. Mythos operates dynamically.
Meaning what exactly?
It doesn't just execute a pre-written attack. It discovers novel flaws on the fly. According to the CBS News report, Mythos hasn't just exploited known issues.
What else did it do?
It has uncovered thousands of zero-day vulnerabilities across every major operating system and web browser currently in use. It adapts to the environment it finds itself in.
So it's not a pre-programmed missile. It's an autonomous soldier that can walk up to a fortress, realize the front gate is locked, check the side windows, notice a structural flaw in the masonry, and just, I don't know, invent a new explosive on the spot to breach the wall.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy. And that adaptability is exactly why Anthropic initiated Project Glasswing.
Right, the closed door thing.
Exactly. Instead of releasing Mythos to the developer community or the general public, they have locked it behind closed doors. They are only sharing this technology with a very select group of foundational infrastructure providers.
Like who?
We are talking about Amazon, Apple, Cisco, JP Morgan Chase, and NVIDIA.
Huge players.
The absolute biggest. The strategy is to allow these massive entities to use Mythos against their own networks. They are essentially employing the world's greatest digital burglar to test their lock so they can patch the holes.
Before someone else uses it against them.
Exactly. Before a tool of this caliber inevitably ends up in the hands of bad actors.
It's an interesting dynamic, putting the developer in the role of both the arsonist who invented a new kind of fire and the firefighters selling the specialized hose.
Yeah, it really is.
But looking at the reactions and the sources, the people running the global economy aren't treating this as a theoretical drill. I mean, the CBS report notes that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell are holding closed-door meetings with top bank CEOs specifically about Mythos. We're impartially reporting their actions here, obviously. But when the officials tasked with protecting the American economy call emergency meetings with Wall Street, the anxiety is palpable.
Oh, absolutely. And the anxiety reaches the international level, too. Kristalina Georgieva, the managing director of the IMF, she went on Face the Nation and explicitly warned that the world does not currently have the ability to protect the international monetary system against massive cyber risks.
That is a terrifying statement from the IMF.
It is. But to understand why leaders at that level are stepping in, you have to look at the shrinking timeline of weaponization.
Okay, unpack that for me.
There's a PwC report cited in our materials. It points out that the time gap between a new AI capability being announced and that same capability being reverse engineered and weaponized by cybercriminals, well, it shrank drastically in 2025.
And I'm guessing it's not getting better.
No, in 2026, that compression is accelerating. The bad actors don't need Anthropic to release Mythos. They just need to know it's mathematically possible, and they will build their own versions.
Wow. And we have Alyssa Valentina Knight, the CEO of the cybersecurity firm Assail, quoted in the CBS piece saying, "The storm isn't coming, the storm is here."
Yeah, that quote really stood out.
She makes the incredibly blunt point that human IT teams were already failing to keep up with human hackers. Adding autonomous AI to the attacker's side of the equation means human defenders are essentially bringing a stopwatch to a laser fight.
That's a great way to put it.
But for you listening, it's easy to hear these quotes and wonder how much of this is just the tech industry doing what it does best,
Right.
hyping up a new product. We need to look at the actual mechanisms to see if the threat is mathematically real.
Right, and the evaluation from the UK's AI Security Institute provides that mechanical proof. The AISI has been rigorously tracking AI cyber capabilities in laboratory environments since 2023.
And they got their hands on Mythos.
They did. They were granted access to test the Claude Mythos preview model, and they evaluate these systems using Capture the Flag or CTF challenges.
Okay, for anyone who doesn't know, what is a CTF in this context?
In cybersecurity, a CTF isn't a simple puzzle. It involves hiding a specific piece of data, the flag, deep within a complex, fortified system. The AI must independently scan the architecture, identify a weakness, write a custom exploit, bypass the security layer, and extract the data.
And the numbers from the AISI report are staggering. On expert-level CTF tasks, Mythos achieved a 73% success rate.
Yeah.
To put that in perspective, the report notes that before April 2025, exactly 0 AI models could complete these expert-level tasks. We went from a 0% capability to a 73% success rate in barely a year.
It's a massive leap.
But finding one hidden flag is just a single action. My understanding is that a real devastating cyber attack, like taking down a hospital or a power grid, that requires a massive sequence of successful hacks, right?
What's fascinating here is how the ASI tested that exact requirement for sequential logic. They built a cyber range called the Last Ones, or TLO.
Okay.
This isn't a single puzzle. It is a sprawling 32-step corporate network attack simulation. It mimics a full-scale intrusion.
So it's not just one locked door, it's a whole building.
Exactly. It begins with initial reconnaissance, just silently probing a network from the outside to map the architecture, and progresses through escalating privileges, bypassing internal firewalls, and ultimately achieving total network takeover.
Wow.
And the AISI estimates that a highly skilled human professional would need about 20 continuous hours of focused work to complete all 32 steps of the TLO simulation.
20 hours of a human manually typing commands, analyzing server responses, researching exploits, and pivoting. And when they unleashed Mythos in this environment,
It solved the entire 32-step simulation from start to finish 3 out of 10 times.
that's insane.
And across all 10 attempts, it averaged 22 out of the 32 steps. The next best model they had on record, Opus 4.6, well, that only averaged 16 steps.
How is the AI actually pulling this off mechanically? I mean, how does it chain 22 distinct, complex actions together without a human holding its hand?
It comes down to how the model processes the output of its own actions. Older automation would run a script and just stop. Mythos, however, runs an exploit, reads the error code or the data it gets back, parses that information to understand the internal architecture of the server it just hit, and then consults its own internal knowledge base to formulate the logical next step.
So it's actually learning from its mistakes in real time.
Exactly. It might realize, based on a single denied access ping, that it's dealing with an outdated Apache server. It then autonomously writes a new, highly specific script to breed at that server, establishes a foothold, and immediately begins scanning the internal network for the next vulnerable stepping stone.
It acts as an autonomous agent reasoning its way through a maze.
Precisely.
Now, I do want to push back on this slightly because the AISI report does outline some pretty significant limitations. Mythos is not an unstoppable digital god just yet.
Fair point.
The report highlights that Mythos actually failed their cooling tower evaluation. That specific test focuses on operational technology, or OT.
Right. The distinction between IT and OT is crucial here. Information technology, IT, is the flow of data. Operational technology, OT, is the hardware and software that directly monitors and controls physical devices.
Give me an example.
We are talking about the valves in a water treatment plant, the machinery on a factory floor, or the actual cooling towers in a power station.
Ah,
Mythos performed exceptionally well in the digital IT sections of that test, but it could not comprehend or execute the physical, operational attacks required to manipulate the machinery. It lacks the contextual understanding of physical engineering.
okay, that makes sense. Furthermore, the TLO simulation, where it had that massive success rate, seems heavily idealized.
How so?
Well, the AISI acknowledges there were no active human defenders monitoring the network and trying to stop the AI in real time.
Nice.
The test environment lacked advanced defensive tooling, and crucially, there were no penalties if the AI triggered a bunch of security alarms by making too much noise during its reconnaissance.
That's a very valid critique.
So let me get this straight. It can flawlessly rob the bank, but only if the security guards are fast asleep, the cameras are turned to the wall, and the alarms are physically unplugged. Is it a true criminal mastermind? Or is it just an idiot savant that requires a completely sterile environment to function?
Well, the real world is undeniably messier, with active monitoring and unpredictable configurations. However, the fact that an AI can autonomously chain 22 complex steps of an attack sequence fundamentally alters the risk landscape.
Even with sleeping guards?
Especially then, because even if it needs a sleeping target, the reality is that tens of thousands of corporate and municipal networks around the world are weakly defended. Any system that is behind on its patch management or lacks robust active endpoint monitoring is effectively a sleeping bank guard.
Ah, I see.
Mythos proves that the technical floor for what an attacker can achieve with zero human effort has been raised exponentially. Weakly defended networks are now sitting ducks for fully automated end-to-end takeovers.
Which brings a fascinating human element into the frame. The technical capability is mathematically real, the AISI data proves that. But whenever there is a sudden apocalyptic panic in the tech sector, you have to follow the money.
Oh, always.
We're talking about companies whose valuations depend entirely on convincing the world they are building the most powerful tools in human history.
This raises an important question. How much of the narrative surrounding Project Glasswing is a genuine planetary defense initiative, and how much of it is a highly calculated corporate strategy? Context is everything here.
Let's talk about that context.
Both Anthropic and their primary rival, OpenAI, are expected to launch massive initial public offerings by the end of 2026. The financial stakes are astronomical.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the security community is definitely raising an eyebrow at the theatrics of this rollout.
Yeah, they are.
Peter Garrigan, the founder of an AI security platform called MindGuard, is quoted in the sources explicitly questioning the motives. He suspects this limited release strategy is, at its core, a marketing ploy designed to generate terrifying, awe-inspiring headlines right before these companies ask Wall Street investors for billions of dollars.
And we also have Malek Ben Slimon, a marketing lecturer at Columbia Business School, offering a brilliant analysis of this dynamic.
What does he say?
He points out that by heavily curating the release of Mythos, by publicly locking it away, and only granting access to enterprise giants like Apple and JP Morgan Anthropic, achieves two massive strategic goals.
Which are?
First, they brand themselves as the ultimate protectors of responsible AI, which perfectly differentiates them from competitors who might be perceived as moving too recklessly. Second, it functions as an incredibly potent B2B advertising tool.
Oh, that's clever.
They have successfully commodified safety. By stating their product is too dangerous for the public, they are simultaneously signaling to enterprise clients that it is the most powerful tool on the market.
It's like they've constructed an elaborate haunted house attraction. And right before they start selling tickets for the IPO, they bolt a giant flashing neon sign to the front door that says, "Too scary for the general public. Military and Fortune 500 only."
That's exactly what it feels like.
It is genius-level marketing because it taps into human curiosity and fears simultaneously. It makes every investor and tech CEO desperate to know what's inside. It's brilliant marketing, but doesn't mean the monster inside isn't actually going to bite you.
Right, and it is entirely possible for both things to be true. The theatrical presentation of Project Glasswing perfectly aligns with Anthropic's corporate marketing strategy leading into an IPO.
But the threat is still real.
Exactly. The hard data from the AI side proves that the underlying technology is genuinely disruptive. The monster does have teeth. Hackers are already leveraging lesser AI models right now to script highly customized, grammatically perfect phishing attacks and to drastically compress the timelines of their intrusions.
Those humans just can't keep up.
No. The core vulnerability in the current cybersecurity paradigm is the human being.
So what does this all mean for defense? If we accept that these AI-driven attacks are moving too fast for human defenders, then relying on an IT guy to manually locate a breach, quarantine a file, and patch a system is a losing battle. We have to completely remove the human from the recovery timeline.
The paradigm has to shift from building an impenetrable wall because an AI will eventually scan millions of lines of code and find the one microscopic crack to a philosophy of cyber resilience.
Cyber resilience. Okay.
Defense is no longer just about keeping the attacker out. It is about the ability to instantly bounce back when the wall is inevitably breached. This requires tools that operate at the same autonomous speed as the attacking AI.
And that transition explains the rising prominence of automated disaster recovery platforms, which brings us to the operational specs for Swimmage.
Right, Swimmage.
The traditional method for dealing with a computer virus involves an IT technician sitting down at the infected machine, running a battery of diagnostic scans, and attempting to surgically extract the malware without breaking the underlying operating system.
Which is incredibly slow.
Very slow. And the Swimmage documentation argues that this approach is fundamentally flawed in the modern threat landscape. They call this practice living with malware.
The danger of living with malware is the assumption that a clean scan means a clean machine. When dealing with advanced attacks, what appears to be a simple, annoying piece of adware might actually be masking a rootkit or a backdoor.
A rootkit?
Yeah, a rootkit is essentially a digital master key buried so deep within the fundamental architecture of the computer's operating system that normal antivirus scans can't even see the door, let alone the lock.
Oh, wow.
If an AI like Mythos compromises a machine, assuming you can manually clean it is a massive risk. Swimmage's philosophy dictates that any endpoint with suspected malware should never be surgically cleaned. The protocol is to stop working immediately, shut the machine down, and initiate a completely automated rebuild.
So instead of a doctor carefully performing surgery to extract a virus, Swimmage essentially clones a perfectly healthy version of you, uploads all your memories into the new body, and completely vaporizes the sick version.
That is the exact mechanism, yeah. When a threat is detected, Swimmage entirely rebuilds the operating system from the ground up.
What about figuring out what happened?
It takes a complete snapshot of the existing infected system for later forensics and diagnostics, so the security team can still analyze how the breach occurred, but then it completely reinstalls the base operating system.
Just nukes and pays the whole thing.
Yep. It restores all the necessary applications, enforces the company's strict security policies, and restores the user's data and settings into this fresh, uncompromised environment. And the crucial metric here is that it accomplishes this entire rebuild in under 15 to 30 minutes.
Doing that manually would take an IT professional an entire day of downloading ISO files, updating drivers, and transferring user data. To do it in the time it takes an employee to go grab a coffee is wild.
It's a game changer.
But how does it handle remote workers? Like, if my laptop gets infected while I'm working from a coffee shop and I shut it down, I'm disconnected from the corporate network.
The system is designed to operate with zero touch from human technicians. It can function completely offline or over incredibly slow, constrained VPN connections.
How does it do that offline?
It achieves this by staging the rebuild engine and the secure base image locally on the device in a protected partition, or by managing the rebuild at a fundamental hardware level before connecting back to the broader network.
Oh, so it's already on the machine waiting.
Exactly. It leaves the virus and any deeply buried rootkits behind in the vaporization process, but keeps the user data perfectly intact. This is the only viable countermeasure to AI speed attacks, AI-driven, hyper-automated recovery workflows.
And looking at the specs, it's built for massive scale. The sources note it's currently deployed in over 85 countries, and the pricing starts at just $4 a seat. It completely redefines the economics of disaster recovery.
It really does.
It stops the dangerous habit of employees just ignoring a sluggish, compromised machine because they don't want to lose a day of work to the IT department. The focus shifts entirely from never getting hacked to recovering so fast that the hack is irrelevant.
The core takeaway synthesizing all these sources is that the era of human speed cybersecurity is definitively over. The human being is now the primary bottleneck in both attacking and defending digital infrastructure.
The weakest link.
Yeah. Whether Anthropic's Project Glasswing is a genuine altruistic rescue mission or a brilliantly executed IPO marketing strategy, the underlying technological reality remains unchanged. AI can now autonomously chain together complex, multi-step attacks, accomplishing in minutes what used to require days of highly skilled human effort. Our best, and perhaps only, viable defense is ruthlessly eliminating the human bottleneck in our recovery processes.
It's a fundamental rewiring of how we interact with the digital world. Let's bring all these threads together for you, the listener. We started with the jarring reality of Anthropic's Mythos AI, a tool so exceptionally proficient at finding the microscopic cracks in our digital infrastructure that it is being kept under lock and key, shared only with the giants of the tech and finance sectors.
Right.
We moved from the headlines into the laboratory, looking at the hard data from the AI side, proving that this isn't just theoretical hype. AI can actively reason its way through a 32-step network breach.
Which is still staggering to think about.
It is. We explored the fascinating dynamic of commodified safety, examining how the sheer terror generated by these models perfectly primes the market for massive corporate IPOs. And finally, we looked at the mechanical reality of defense, moving away from slow, human-led patching and surgical virus removal, and embracing extreme automated recovery tools that can rebuild an entire system from scratch in 15 minutes.
We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today, and it leaves us with something profound to consider regarding the future of this digital arms race.
What's that?
Well, we've talked extensively about AI autonomously attacking our networks and hyper-automated tools instantly recovering our computers. But what happens when the disaster recovery tools themselves are entirely run by AI and the evolving malware is entirely run by AI?
Oh, wow.
Are we rapidly moving toward a future where a silent, invisible cyber war is raging on our laptops 1,000 times a second, and as human users, all we ever see of this epic high-stakes battle is a little spinning loading screen?
That is an incredibly eerie thought to end on. Keep that in mind the next time you're waiting for an app to open and wondering why your phone is running a little warm. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us. We hope you walk away with a clearer understanding of the forces shaping our digital reality right now. Stay curious, stay well informed, and we'll catch you on the next one.